Hello, I'm Chris Flisher, and welcome to Turning of the Wheel, an intelligent, lively discussion on astrology, art, and adventure. Timing is everything, and as the great wheel turns, we are best prepared when we are best informed. Join me as I explore the current planetary alignments and offer insights for coping with change. Educational, informative, enlightening, the Turning of the Wheel is a welcome pause in your daily swirl of constant change. Through intelligent discourse, inspired guests, and educational segments, I will help to enlighten your knowledge of astrology and guide you to accept change as the great wheel of life turns. Call in with your questions and speak with some of the greatest visionaries in the time-tested practice of astrology. Turning of the Wheel, Astrology, Art, and Adventure with Chris Flisher, each Saturday live, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, on Contact Talk Radio. Good morning, planet Earth. How are you? This is Chris Flisher. This is a radio on Turning of the Wheel. This is a radio show about astrology, art, and spiritual adventure. And we're going to be mixing it up a little bit more today, as I like to do. You know, I'm going to try to broaden and spread out a little bit here. We've got some great topics coming up. The topic for the day is going to be Astro-aromatherapy. So for every sign in the zodiac, there is a essential oil that is best for you. And oftentimes it's not what you might expect. So I've got a great guest, a good friend of mine is coming on to talk about this. She is an amazing healer with a great breadth of knowledge about aromatherapy. So I think this will be very valuable for every sign. It's worth listening to. So we're going to go through that in the course of the show when she dials in, and then we'll do some readings later on in the show if we get around to it. People call in. I'm available for that. It is November the 6th, and we are in the new moon has just moved into Scorpio, so on Friday. So it's been a very good time to set your intentions for the coming month and to get your ideas out there about what you want to do. Scorpio is, this is a very interesting time of year, just because of the fact that, fall is encroaching and tomorrow is daylight savings time. So we'll be wrapped in darkness later, much earlier in the afternoon. And it's something, I don't know, even though I love the sun and the brightness and the heat of summertime, because I am a fire sign, an Aries fire sign, I do like the Scorpio energy. I like the sense of coziness and being able to get, make those nice hot comfort meals and to get the blankets out and the fire going and stuff like that. Have the dogs curl up with you. And all those things are wonderful characteristics about what it means to be in this time of year. So the Scorpio moon is a wonderful time to set your intentions for the coming month. And if you have a birthday around this time, it's a very good time to set your intentions for the coming year. I always think of the birthday more as a New Year's Day than actually January 1st. I always think that your birthday is sort of like a specialized, individualized New Year's Day. So you should celebrate your birthday like it's a New Year's Day, because it really is a new year to you. So we have quite a bit of activity in the planet today. There's no question about it. Having a new moon is always powerful. It's close to the sun and the moon obviously are close together. Mercury's not that far away at 26 degrees Scorpio. One of the interesting things to watch, I think, is very ironic, especially given the fact that we just had elections, is that Saturn is at 12 degrees Libra, and that is in the United States chart in its 10th house, and the United States is coming up on what's called a Saturn return. So last week, I did a show about the Saturn return, and I talked about a great deal about what it meant and what it was entailing. And I think the fact that it's in the 10th house of the United States chart, which is the Sibley chart, which is based on July 4th, 1776 at 5:05 p.m. in Philadelphia, when the United States was officially born. The fact that it's in the 10th house indicates it's all about career, and where are we having more trouble in our country than in the career zone. So we are really getting our duties are being handed to us, whether we want them or not. And, I don't think it's anyone's fault. I think it's a long, complicated process, but I do think that once we pay our dues and knuckle down, we'll be able to come out of this much stronger. But it is going to take some time. Saturn return really is about the individual. It's about redefining. It's about reinventing yourself. And one thing that Saturn does not like is procrastination. So if you are going through a Saturn return now, do not procrastinate anything. Get your health insurance. Get your house in order. Set your intentions for, reinventing yourself. Take the time out for yourself and really focus on those sort of things. Some other announcements I want to make. People can write to me at chris@chrisflisher.com. I'm happy to be there to help you. I am an astrologer. I do professional astrology readings, and I'm going to be raising my rates a little bit in the new year. So if you want to get in now's the time to get a hold of me before the sale is off. And and I figure that it's a good time to do that because I put a lot of energy into my readings, and there's far more than just what you get in the written report. When I spend an hour with you on the phone, we really get into some detail, and I have results that are just phenomenal. And I'm in the process of redesigning my website, so there's a lot of new stuff underway because I'm going through my Saturn return. So this is why I've sort of taken all this on right now. I'm not procrastinating about anything. Well, maybe a few things, like doing the dishes, but stuff like that I can let go. It's the important things I want to know. Another thing I just want to announce quickly, I am on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, and all those social media things, just as chrisflisher.com, as Chris Flisher, rather. So be sure to friend me there, and I'll love to talk to you there. Anyway, I want to get on to my topic. My guest is on. She's a marvelous source of information. Her name is Victoria Bender. She has a website called Vsentials. It's VSCENTIALS.com, and it's sort of like the word essential, but you put a V in front of it. So it's Vsentials. And she is an aromatherapist who has taken aromatherapy, I think, to a level that is, really elevates the whole field. People often think of aromatherapy as just things smelling nice, but this is aromatherapy at its most scientific basis, and it's rooted in the real true essences of the oils that are found in the planet. And the oils that are found in the planet have characteristics. And we're going to discuss what aromatherapy is on an overarching manner, and then we're going to get into the details of what works for each sign. So we're going to go through the whole zodiac wheel. Each sign has oils that are special for that sign. And so it's worthwhile listening to that, because when you find out what that oil is and work with it, you will see how it helps you. I want to welcome today with great honor my friend Victoria Bender from Vsentials. Victoria, are you there?
I am, Chris. How are you? Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah. It's always fun to hear from you.
Listen, I just want to say great job on the show the other night. Your art is almost as astounding as your astrology.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
That was wonderful. And I got such overwhelming response from everyone about the show today. I just want to thank all my friends and family for tuning in also. Good.
So as an aromatherapist, I want to ask you, so people, I think, often have a misconception about aromatherapy. I think that they just think of it as, incense and perfume. So maybe you can clarify what real aromatherapy is all about.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's really an exciting time in the United States to practice aromatherapy. We're kind of finally catching up to the rest of the world with our use. It is just such a dynamic practice. I mean, it's alive, it's vibrational, as are people, and authentic, wild-crafted, and organic essential oils are composed of extremely volatile molecules, some more volatile than others, but they all have vibratory rates that help to synchronize and calibrate the vibratory quality of living human cells. Now, I want to kind of inject the word of caution here in that the market is absolutely flooded with quote-unquote aromatherapy products. Kind of don't be fooled. Any aromatherapeutic product that you buy for therapeutic or any other purposes, I would say for that matter, make sure that a Latin binomial and a place of origin is listed on the bottle. It doesn't matter that you don't know what the proper binomial should be. That's just kind of one of the few ways as an international society that we've come up with in order to ensure that people are getting therapeutic-type products. And better yet, find a certified professional to kind of help you out. Aromatherapy is really divided into three distinct practices. First and foremost is clinical, and there are hundreds of research papers that quantify what their various properties and obvious medicinal qualities are. The second is aesthetic, which is for those who just want to create a pleasing, healthful atmosphere. I mean, kind of in the mainstream, that's what it's used the most for, kind of as you pointed out. But the third and most intriguing and perhaps even the most helpful in today's kind of highly charged, stressful environment, is kind of what's known as subtle aromatherapy, which is also known as aromatology. I practice that in addition to the other two categories. And that, the subtle aromatherapy, kind of falls into the category of energy or vibrational medicine. And also more scientific work in the area of brain chemistry, along with the more sophisticated tools to measure. Science can even explain now how aromatherapy can, in fact, make a person feel very good emotionally. But that doesn't begin to impart the dynamic, energetic role that they play with us on a whole. Having said that, I think that's where aromatherapy coalesces extremely well with astrology. Essential oils.
Yeah, it's interesting. The when you mentioned you rang a bell for me when you mentioned that sort of the subtle aromatherapy, the aromatology, the concept of the brain. And you know how our sense of smell is directly linked. It's one of the strongest senses. And I think that when that oil is taken in through the brain, directly to the brain, the pineal gland, there's a remarkable sense of, that's when we have deja vu and we have all those other kind of emotions that arise from that sense of smell.
Well, that's correct. There's been a lot of buzz since Candace Pert kind of explained for us the whole idea of neuropeptides and how they affect the entire central nervous system. And the amygdala, which is just two synapses from the hippocampus in the brain, transfers the vibrational quality into the hippocampus. They've also now have scientific proof where that kind of reduces the effects of cortisol, which when we're under stress, that's the fight or flight, so much cortisol is released into the body that kind of the level of cortisol, once it gets to a very high level, completely disrupts the hippocampus. And so the aromatherapeutic molecules, which are extremely volatile, are taken into the amygdala, which in turn kind of settles that whole vibratory process down in the hippocampus. And so, it's a very, very exciting science at this particular time.
I can understand that. I think that it has, because I think it's Earth-centered. And one of the astrological components of Earth-centeredness comes from the fact that Pluto is in Capricorn right now, and this is a sign of the Earth. Capricorn is a cardinal Earth sign, and and having Pluto in Capricorn means that we are rethinking, revisiting, reconstructing, rebuilding everything that has to do with the Earth, and we are returning to an Earth-based society and an Earth-based way of living. And I think this is an especially profound time for aromatherapy really to come to its own and sort of take a place up there along with traditional medicines and be regarded as an incredibly valuable tool for all of us.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you should bring up Capricorn. The Capricornians that I have spoken with over the last couple weeks that I work with in my practice, I found that their nerves are a little bit on end, that the brain is a little bit clouded. They're kind of wound up right now. And now you're the astrologer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that kind of seems to be the mood of Capricorn right now. And
absolutely, yeah.
I want you all to know that cypress is wonderful for calming your nerves. Eucalyptus will help the Capricornians to kind of clear out the brain. To deal with that, Capricornians are typically, they have so much determination in their will to exert all their efforts into achieving their mission. And so they need something to kind of stabilize that tranquility, and vetiver works very well for that. So I think those are three oils that work extremely well with that condition at this particular time.
Yeah. Now, as I mentioned to the folks earlier, we're going to be going through each sign individually, probably in the second half of the show, and get hard data for each of you who are out there. Every sign will get a chance to hear what essential oils work best for you. One of the questions that comes to mind, Victoria, my guest today, by the way, is Victoria Bender. She is an aromatherapist of the highest order, and she has a website which is called Vsentials.com. It's VSCENTIALS.com. And you can get to there from my website. If you go to my website, you can click on my little ad there, and it'll take you right to her website. And she works with aromatherapy she's taken aromatherapy to the highest level you can, which is the scientific level, which I think is very important distinction to make, because, I think many of us just, sort of just relate to aromatherapy as things that just smell nice and, oh, isn't it great to have some bergamot in my room or to sage my house or whatever. And those are valid. I'm not going to discount that. But I think the point that that Victoria makes very clearly and brings to light is the fact that aromatherapy has a much greater value to your life and to your well-being than we ever give it credit for. And I think that this is coming unto its own, as I mentioned earlier. We're sort of coming to that point in time where we are returning to these traditional forms of healing that really have been neglected for some time. But they work so well, especially if you get the right essences. Now, these oils can you talk a little bit about the oils? And so, because there's varying degrees of purity and varying degrees of authenticity. So you must have to work towards getting just the right ones, correct?
Well, that is correct. And unfortunately, it's become such a buzzword that there's so much, diluted, extended, adulterated product out there. Once again, I can't make the point strong enough that you need to make sure that you have that Latin binomial on there and the origin of where it comes from. We've worked very hard as an international community to include that kind of as a safety measure. And it's interesting, essential oils are a tremendous way of kind of connecting us to that ubiquitous energy that's all around us. Plants take in energy from the sun, and they transform it through photosynthesis into food energy, which is what all living creatures rely on. Essential oils are the quintessence, the concentrated form of that sun energy, and therefore they're seen as highly energetic, especially when viewed through polycontrast interface photography, which was invented by Harry Oldfield, who's the co-author of The Dark Side of the Brain. They found that their vibrations can transform us to the ultimate source of that energy, or to get a little hokey, if you will, cosmic power, which is where that whole correlation with astrology comes into play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, well, as we evolve further, we are finding more and more that these are all connected modalities, and that they rather than being opposing each other, they actually work in harmony with each other to sort of bring people to their right thing. So we have astrological components to ourselves. We also have aromatherapy pieces to ourselves. When you mentioned the word Latin binomial, that is the equivalent of what modern-day medicine uses when they speak of things, or when they use plants, they talk about the Latin terms. That's what you mean by that?
That's exactly what I mean by that. That lets the consumer know that and only that is in the product. In other words, it's gone through mass spectrum in order to be able to put that label on there. And I won't say we're exactly where we should be. However, you cannot put the Latin binomial. Now, if you have used any extenders or it's been adulterated at all, that will have to be listed on the label also. Really, when you work with an essential oil, you want to find only one thing on the label, and that is the Latin binomial. Just as if you were going to go out and buy a new plant. You'll have the catch name on there, and then you'll have the full Latin name under it. That's exactly the way you should be able to buy essential oils. And also, that's a good way I want to also safety, because they are so potent, because they are so concentrated. Please bear in mind that they should never be taken internally. And secondly, you never want to put it on in a neat concentration, meaning that you never, unless you're dealing with a professional, you don't want to put that whole concentrated product on your skin. You always want to add that to a natural vegetable-based oil. I am particularly fond of jojoba oil because that technically is a wax, not an oil. So you don't ever have to worry about it turning, going rancid. You don't have to worry about oxidization. And it blends very well with the oils as well as being very good with your skin. Now, if you're using essential oils in a diffuser, always make sure you have water in the well. And you never want more than 5 or 6 drops in the average diffuser. As a matter of fact, unless you're using a nebulizer, I can't think of any well that would hold more than maybe 5 drops. And that's fine to put in straight or concentrated.
They really do need to be cut down, though, because they are so highly concentrated. I remember you mentioning to me that when you're getting natural rose, you're talking about 4,000 pounds to get a very, very small quantity. So this is
it's about
incredibly
4,000
intense.
pounds of petals for only an ounce of essential oil.
Unbelievable.
So you're talking, I mean, truly, 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 very, very dynamic, very, very concentrated product.
And we can't stress enough this characteristic that you mentioned about not taking them internally. If you really do have to find, I think, an aromatherapist who is well versed in the use of these, because they do have, they're incredibly powerful, almost too powerful if they're not used properly, correct?
That is correct. And fortunately, the United States really is catching up with the rest of the world. It's a little bit easier today to find a truly qualified aromatherapist. University of Indiana, University of Colorado, University of Rhode Island now all offer diplomas in aromatherapy. I'm out of American College of Health Sciences. That's a 2-year program for master aromatherapy, and you do have to study organic chemistry as well as anatomy, physiology. And so when you look for an aromatherapist, you know, for many years when it got so popular after Tisserand bought it over from the UK, they had these weekend courses where you could get certified. You know, you really want to talk to your aromatherapist and find out how and where they were educated, because trust me, unless you understand organic chemistry, you can get into some. It's very easy to misuse them.
I think that's a pretty a potent thing to remember, because I think that in that, you know, you could get in. Well, there's some, for example, there's some herbs and natural essences that, contain poison. I think if you know, there's some herbs I know that valerian, for example, if you take that, it's got a strongly, narcotic, dangerous characteristic to it. So I think that, the better informed people are, and to approach this with a sense of caution, but not to be afraid of it, obviously, just to make sure you reach out to the right people to get the right information about what aromatherapy can do. Now, I know that when you talk about getting the oils into the person, so to speak, how do you do that? Is it through the skin? Is it through a diffuser? What's the best way to get to have access to these oils?
All of the above. All of the above. And it kind of depends on what your objectives are. From a clinical standpoint, I have a number of different patients that I work with skin afflictions that they've been through conventional medicine, up one side and down the other, and still just can't deal with just can't get rid of the problem. The interesting thing about using essential oils is plants have the same DNA as we do. So when you use natural essential oils, goes into the body, it can be, now these molecules are highly volatile, very, very, very tiny, and so they absorb through the upper epidermis, right through into the bloodstream extremely quickly and very, very efficiently. Also, you got to bear in mind, too, that the olfactory nerve in the sinus, the epithelium there, is the only opening on the entire human body that is direct to the central nervous system. So when you inhale essential oils, bam, right straight to the brain. So if you're talking about equalizing the mood, you can certainly use it in a diffuser, but also the power of human touch is extremely healing. So when you put the essential oils in a nice vegetable base and use that for a massage, even a self-massage with the hands and feet, it has a dynamic effect. And so either of those would absolutely be tremendously beneficial.
So when they are inhaled like that, and you say, so they could be used as an instantaneous kind of a jolt, you would get an instantaneous response to that.
You do get an instantaneous response, in addition to the fact that, first and foremost, the human body knows exactly how to metabolize it. So you don't have any residual in the liver, you don't have any residual in the lungs. As a matter of fact, there are a number of essential oils, when they're inhaled, actually cleanse the lungs. Things like eucalyptus, black pepper, if you're trying to kick the nicotine habit. Black pepper is wonderful because it gives you that rush in the lungs that you get from the inhalation of a cigarette, and as it's metabolized through the lungs, the black pepper is literally transporting the nicotine out of the lungs so that it can be discharged from the body. And the faster you get rid of the nicotine residual, the quicker you reduce the cravings. So inhalation is truly, truly as medicinal as body application.
Now, I would not recommend going home and sniffing some pepper, folks, because you might end up sneezing.
That's absolutely right, Chris. You do. And black pepper essential oil has a wonderful, wonderful aroma. But there again, that's not something you should ever use on your skin unless you're working with a professional. Even mixed, I would not suggest that unless you're working with a professional.
That is great information. You're listening to Turning of the Wheel today. My name is Chris Flisher, and my guest is Victoria Bender, and she is an aromatherapist of the highest order, and she's taken aromatherapy to where it really belongs, which is as a scientific approach to a holistic approach to healing and recovery and self-regeneration. Her website is Vsentials. It's VSCENTIALS.com. This Vsentials. You can get there from my website if you want to, and click on it and go see what she has to offer and her services. She has a remarkable color test that is amazingly accurate. And we'll have a chance to talk a little bit about how color and oils mix up after the break. But when we come back, our plan is to go through each sign individually of the whole zodiac wheel and identify what the best oils are for you during that time. So stay tuned. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes, and on the other side of the half hour, we'll get into the individual oils for each sign. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned.
As the world shrinks and our barriers come down, diverse cultures are striving for harmony, balance, and peace. To ease the transition, we need to expand with color, light, and tolerance. Now, you can become a global citizen and embrace the color and clear spirit with the divine artwork of the mandala. Mandalas are a timeless artistic offering for creating unity, harmony, and peace. My name is Chris Flisher, and I've spent years creating mandalas, and they are now available online at www.chrisflisher.com. Come and experience the world of color, form, and function with t-shirts, coffee mugs, note cards, and limited edition prints. These vibrant, lively paintings and products express optimism, oneness, and spiritual balance for all who use them. At www.chrisflisher.com. www.chrisflisher.com. And enter a world of possibility and color.
Did you know that you can rate this show on iTunes? The show you're listening to right now. It's true. You can leave your thoughts about the show, the topic, the guest. You can even leave a suggestion. Then, before you leave, rate the show. The hosts love hearing from you, so next time you download this show from iTunes, leave your thoughts and rate the show for the host and for others.
What is your destiny? Where are you going? What is your real purpose? Do you know? Do you want to know? Of course you do. It's your duty to yourself. We are all here for a reason, and we all have great potential. Discover all of this and more with a professional astrology reading. My name is Chris Flisher, and I can help you. Discover your strengths and work on your weaknesses, and live your life to its fullest capacity. Based on your birthday, birthplace, and birth time, an authentic astrology reading will allow you to live your life to the fullest and reveal your true purpose. Only real astrology can give you real information. It is your destiny, and it is your path. Write me at chris@chrisflisher.com and book a reading today. Or call me, 978-264-0668. That's 978-264-0668. www.chrisflisher.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Turning of the Wheel. My name is Chris Flisher. This is a show about astrology, art, and spiritual adventure. And today we're talking about aromatherapy and how it relates to astrology. My guest is Victoria Bender of vessentials.com. You can get to her site from my website. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go through each sign in the zodiac, and Victoria is going to identify the best oils for the individual signs. We're not going to go into much elaboration on the signs or the essence of the oils, so it's important that as these names go by, you just have a piece of paper and pencil ready to write down what's appropriate for your sign. So we're going to start with Aries and work our way around. So, Victoria, what's best for Aries?
Okay. Aries, rosemary, or rosemary officinalis, is pungent and penetrating like Aries. However, you kind of need that to assist in development and to kind of help transform your creative energy into action. You know, Aries bores very easily and sometimes doesn't have doesn't necessitate or fulfill because they get impatient. So rosemary kind of helps keep you very, very focused so you can put that creative energy into action. And then frankincense is also very helpful because it's very balancing to the body and mind, and that also will help with your patient.
Okay, and then now Taurus.
Taurus is all about, the relationships. And so typically rose is thought of for Taurus because rose is all about the heart and opening the heart. My experience is that Taurus doesn't need their heart much more open than it already is since they're so relationship kind of based. What I find works better for Taurus is either neroli or patchouli because that kind of helps boost the confidence and self-esteem within the relationship.
Good. That's good to know. Absolutely perfect. What about Gemini?
Gemini needs kind of a sharp, spicy scent like basil that kind of brings them right into the present. It also brings balance and clarity to the inner emotions, kind of to help that feeling of a need for control, which is an illusion anyway. It helps you to kind of take a risk of faith and express your true self. And lavender is also very good for Gemini. It kind of helps clear up a stuffy head, while benzoin is very good for calming and kind of easing the nervous tension that Gemini sometimes experiences.
Very good. Now, what about Cancer?
Cancer, those nurturing, sensitive Cancers. They nurture everyone else, but sometimes they forget to nurture themselves. And chamomile is all about calming, nurturing oneself. It's also very good for letting go of old habits and beliefs that are no longer useful. It really kind of boosts that act of living your life full out so that you can kind of move beyond self-limitation into the freshness of self-evolution. And also myrrh for Cancer is very good at helping to balance the mood. You know, that moodiness sometimes is a little overwhelming, and myrrh can help balance that.
Good. How about Leo?
Now, Leo, a lot of times needs a little more focus, needs to ease the confusion a little bit and clarify the thought. Lemon and orange are both very, very good for that. Leo is very magnanimous, but as a Leo myself, I find that rose really helps step up that ability for compassion, the ability to look at another's point of view. So lemon and orange are wonderful kind of for helping the confusion and clarity, but Leo really needs rose for the heart.
That's great. That's perfect to know. What about Virgo?
Virgo, wonderful Virgo, analytical, skeptical, sometimes quite a bit of a perfectionist. Virgo really needs lavender. Lavender warms the heart. It helps release judgment as it kind of honors those higher spiritual realms. Virgo, sometimes a little bit predisposed to depression and panicky states. Clary sage is wonderful to combat that. And with Virgo's mental strain and emotional fatigue that kind of comes from that need for perfection, caraway works very well to help kind of balance that out.
That is great information. What about Libra?
Libra. Geranium is very good to reduce the extremes within the inner thought processes that kind of helps bring balance to the emotion. Geranium also helps to kind of tone the vibration of the glands and the hormones, which is extremely important to this sign. Now, sandalwood is also very good. It promotes that kind of deep, peaceful, meditative state, which is extremely, extremely good for the Libra mind, and it's also relaxing. Thyme also is really good for strengthening and restoring their vitality.
Perfect. That is wonderful. What about Scorpio? We're right in the middle of Scorpio now.
Scorpio, patchouli. It awakens that deep, natural learning for a peaceful state of being, that wholehearted feeling where unification kind of occurs with the soul on all levels. Rosemary and ginger are also good for Scorpio, though, because that's good to stimulate the mind, to combat that mental exhaustion and fatigue that sometimes is a result of very explosive emotions.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Sagittarius.
Back to black pepper. That will really help to increase mental and physical endurance because it is so powerfully stimulating. It's also very warming and comforting to cold physical and emotional conditions. And you can balance the undying optimistic attitude with juniper berry, which clears, stimulates, and strengthens the nerves. Bergamot, I think, is also very good for Sagittarius because it's very reviving, and it will help Sag to uplift their mood.
That's perfect. Great. What about Capricorn?
Capricorn, as I stated before, needs kind of that stabilizing tranquility that brings quiet assurance. Vetiver is something that I often use for Capricorn, but in particularly right now, they need cypress to calm the nerves and eucalyptus to clear the brain.
That's perfect. That's very valuable stuff. What about Aquarius?
Well, Aquarius is interesting. There are a number of different oils that I have found to be particularly effective to Aquarius, and I'll let you explain to the audience a little bit later about some of the finer points and how important kind of the overall chart is. But I found that neroli works extremely well because it's all about making choices and trusting their own emotional intelligence, which is actually what guides the choices we make. That's a natural expression of ourselves. And we can reshape our life patterns if we access kind of a calm knowing when we make our choices. So I found that neroli really works well for Aquarius with that whole process. Lemon verbena is really good to banish the blues and the depression. And then fennel is really great to boost their courage, resolve, and give them strength in the face of adversity.
That is great. And then we have Pisces as our last one on the wheel.
Okay. Pisces, Melissa is a very, very expensive oil, and I kind of, because it is so expensive and it's so hard to find it in its pure form in the market, I almost didn't put that on the list. But with every Pisces that I've ever worked with, Melissa has worked wonders in terms of gratitude and reaching inward to direct the spirit toward a more mindful reflection for everything that Pisces has to be grateful for. It kind of connects you to a place of grace, and it allows you to listen to the wisdom of your heart. And for Pisces, I've just found time and time again that that's a very important component. If they're
it is very much so.
If they're in that kind of stuck mode. Jasmine
they
is
often
also very
get there.
good for Pisces because it counters depression. It's a mood enhancer that works very well for Pisces. And for Pisces, Palmarosa is great for calming the mind and uplifting and invigorating the spirit. It's also really good to kind of help that muddled thinking that sometimes occurs with Pisces, and it's motivating.
Yeah, that is wonderful. See, now what we tried to do there was to give everybody a little piece of information about their specific signs and how to use essential oils. Now, this does not mean that you go dashing out on the web or to your local store and buy gallons of this stuff and pour it over you. You have to find the right way to apply it. And this was one of the points that Victoria stressed earlier in the show, if you were listening, was that these essential oils do work for the signs, as mentioned, as she aligned for us in this last list. But you've got to find the right way to do that. And her site will provide some information, and she's a wonderful resource for that. Her website is Vsentials. It's VSCENTIALS.com. And you can reach her through there. Now, we do have a caller, Ariel, who's calling in, whose birthday is 7/24/56 at 11:45 a.m. from Sao Paulo, Brazil. And she has a question about specifically about aromatherapy. So, Ariel, are you on the line there?
Yes. Hello.
Hey.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
I'm sorry we had to wait so long, but we had to get some information out there.
Oh, no worries. I was scribbling as fast as I could.
Oh, good. That's great. So what's your question about aromatherapy?
Specifically, I am recovering from a few years of depletion from, stress and being unemployed and making a career transition, and I got myself depleted physically, mentally, emotionally, every way.
Yeah.
So I'm rebuilding from that. And so that's one of the challenges, because when the energy levels are down, it's a lot harder to keep a positive mental, emotional focus.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you need the energy to do more things that will help the energy.
Now, you are an early Leo. You're born at 1 degree Leo. So Victoria, being a Leo as well, also Victoria is a Leo as well. So she can probably speak to this very clearly with you. So, Victoria, what's your take on Ariel's situation here?
You know what, Ariel? We're living in such a dynamic time where so many people are confronted with the exact same circumstance that you're in. The first question that I want to ask you is, do you meditate? Do you take contemplative time? Do you use creative visualization at all?
Yes, I am reestablishing that discipline. I did that for on and off for extremely many years. I figured out meditation when I was a kid, before I understood that it was called meditation. But
Right.
that does not mean that I had the discipline to maintain that practice.
I'm glad you brought up discipline, because
Yeah.
the wonderful thing about aromatherapy is this. You have all of the endorphins in the brain. You have all of this wonderful, wonderful brain chemistry. When you use aromatherapy, when you use essential oils in meditation, there is an automatic association there made through the limbic system in the brain. So that, and now I'm going to say for you, for what you just explained to me, number one, you need to relax and take care of yourself. So lavender, I think, would be wonderful, but I would say that also you're in a great time of change.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot going on, so you kind of need to be flexible, and you need to make choices, and you need to make them quickly. Neroli blends extremely well with lavender. So you could use a neroli lavender blend in your meditation series, and that would be wonderful, in addition to the fact that on those days that you get up and you just are not feeling like doing your meditation, you open one of the bottles and just take a whiff of it, and you will be amazed at the difference it makes in your attitude, because every single neurochemical in your brain will go, oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be relaxed. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm supposed to be contemplative right now. And you'll find that you can get back into that meditative state faster than you've ever been able to do before. It will literally help with the discipline by virtue of association.
And we all know that how important attitude and discipline are, because that is at the essence of it all. That is a question of free will, and you do have control over that. And if you can adapt that philosophy and apply it to your daily life, I think you will get results very quickly. You are going through a difficult time. You do have interesting transits. You know, you have Scorpio as your rising sign, and so you've got Venus and the Moon have just crossed over your rising sign. So you should be feeling actually sort of a sense of relief. As Venus moves across your rising sign, you're going to be feeling sort of re-energized by this. And I think that the oils that Victoria has mentioned and sort of the approach that she's taken, if you apply that, I think you're going to see results immediately. I really do, because of the fact that you've got Venus there. So it's a very auspicious time to be doing that, would be within the next couple of weeks, to exercise Victoria's therapies and to use them to your greatest power by setting a new bead on a new goal that sort of gets you out of this mud that you're in.
Can I ask also, it's one of the things that colors this time is that I have, here again, okay, it's one of those long-term transits that I went through even last fall. I have Chiron squaring my Saturn, as well as the fact that Neptune is squaring my Saturn. And I would rather, do the Chiron square Saturn without throwing Neptune in the mix to...
Well, I'm afraid you can't avoid that. Because
I know how that... Yeah, I understand that part. And it's a very, very uncomfortable... You can call it the dark night of the soul... revved up on steroids or something.
Well, it's a very profound trend.
You're a little. I don't have a headset. This is a straight line. I'm sorry, but you're good. You're good again now. Am I clear? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You were just fuzzy for just a sec. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that the Saturn, Neptune, Chiron squaring is a difficult thing, but it is one that is going to allow you to dig much deeper on a psychological level to create that. And what Saturn will do is will force you to get to that spot. So even though it may seem like it's an unpleasant thing, sort of the energies and the stress that you're feeling that Victoria mentioned, I think is a direct result of that Saturn Neptune square. Neptune is a very powerful subconscious sort of nightmarish, addiction-oriented, fantasy-oriented type of energy that has illusion and delusion woven into every fiber of the planetary characteristics. So you've got to be mindful of that. But it also is an enormously powerful time to dig as deep as possible. And I can't stress meditation enough. That there is no better time to put yourself into that meditative state, because the answers will come to you through that time. There's no question about it.
That's the way that you described it. That's exactly the way that I've been seeing it. It's sort of like in colloquial terms, it's sort of people talk about going into their closet. Mm-hmm. This is forcing me to go into the very, very depths. I think of it sort of like a cathedral rather than a closet. And there are old resonances that I thought were inactive. But essentially, I'm getting to see pretty much everything, even though I thought it was long healed, long gone. And so, my desire, though, and my concern is that I actually do it the right way and take advantage of this time. So that's the that's part of the issue, and just even having the physical stamina to do that is just because the physical depletion is kind of present too. So
I think what you do is you take Victoria's advice, you nourish your soul and your spirit with the essential oils that are going to be best suited for your sign. And, this depletion that you're talking about, I think, is really a manifestation of perhaps avoidance. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Saturn does not like procrastination. Saturn does not like it when you avoid things. So the more genuine you can be with your truth, the deeper you are going to have a healing effect. You've got to get to that truth. And if you think about it, if you're alone in the room, in that closet or the cathedral by yourself, you've got nothing to lose by being completely honest with yourself. And if you have made mistakes, you find a way to forgive yourself. If you have challenges, you find a way to address them that are constructive. And you branch out looking at a wide variety of therapies that will support you.
I would also like to say that, neroli is wonderful. First of all, I see neroli as pure spirit. It allows kind of a reflection or a reflective thought, if you will, that can throw light on the old wounds that tie us to old patterns of relating. But more importantly, it will let you see it, acknowledge it, and make the choice to move on. Neroli is absolutely, the more I hear you talk, Ariel, first of all, I think you're on the right track with kind of the way you're looking at things, but the more I listen to you talk, the more I realize that neroli is absolutely imperative to your situation, but you need a little bit of lavender in there because you do need to comfort yourself a little bit. There needs to be some nurturing in there also.
And if I could get a hold of spike lavender, is that the change facility?
No.
Just
spike
straight lavender.
Is absolutely not what you want. You want lavandula angustifolia.
Okay, all right. And
and if at all possible, you want the high altitude French.
Okay.
If not, the Oregonian is very available now. Oregon is producing some absolutely marvelous stuff, but make sure it's lavandula angustifolia. That is the Latin binomial you're looking for. Spike lavender is wonderful for many things, but it's going to be too stimulating for you right now.
Okay, all right. And for fear, do you recommend rosemary?
I'm sorry, for?
Fear. Fear about money and success and getting a job.
Yes, rosemary is excellent for that. There are a number of things that are very applicable for that, but here's what I would propose. Work with the lavender neroli for a little while.
Okay.
When you get ready to go to the next step, take my website down, just send me a note, kind of letting me know where you are, and I would be more than happy to tell you what is best for you on the next phase of your journey. More than happy to do that.
I would be very, very grateful for that. And the other two oil questions, and then I'll hush. On anything that's sort of camphor based and like palmarosa, are those, in terms of feeling like you're cleansing the old things away and increasing physical vitality, are those two things that you would recommend?
Palmarosa would be wonderful for that. Yes, absolutely. From a cleansing standpoint, and in particularly regarding Neptune and Saturn, I would be more in line with Cyprus.
Okay.
That's good to know. We unfortunately are running out of time. I think, Ariel, it would be great if you could find a way to get a hold of Victoria. Her website is The Essentials, and you can get to that from my website if you've been following that, and that's a good way to get in touch with her and get more information. But thank you for calling very much.
Thank you very, very, very much.
Good luck, Ariel.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we are running out of time. The hour seems to fly by quickly, and time flies. You're having fun, and we have been having fun today. My guest has been Victoria Bender. She is an aromatherapist of the highest order and uses aromatherapy and really escalates the science to where I think it rightfully belongs, which is, to be a scientific approach, lends itself much stronger to the validity and the credibility of what the actual science is. her website is www.vessentials, so that's VSCENTIALS.com, and she's has a wonderful information on there and is available for consultations, as well as as a therapist in that regard. So, Victoria, thank you very much. I can personally validate I've had remarkable success with Victoria, and I've been seeing her for probably about 2 months now, and have had worked out some amazing therapies for me that have been fantastic. So thank you, Victoria, for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Chris. And I do need to point out that my experience with you has been the same. You have really, really changed the way I look at astrology. What you've done for me and my family with your astrological knowledge has just been absolutely invaluable to the health of all of us. And incorporating the astrological aspects into my practice has just been wonderful. And I thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you, Vicki. We've got to go. The clock is gone. We will see you all next week. Thank you for listening. My name is Chris Flisher. We'll talk to you all next week. Thank you, Vicki. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.
You've been listening to Turning of the Wheel with your host, Chris Flisher. To schedule a reading with me or to order artwork, you may visit my website at www.chrisflisher.com. That's www.chrisflisher.com. Or email me, and you can call me at 978-264-0668. Thank you. And as always, be open to possibilities.